Hello all, today we're presenting our latest research entitled Adopting GIS Technologies to Enhance Urban Cultural Heritage, specifically in the context of the city Alexandria, Egypt. I'm presenting here Sarah Abdelghany and my colleague Isra Othman will be joining me. Urban heritage is a key aspect of humans' community history as it stands as a witness to the evolution of civilization. And approaching this heritage cannot be done from a single perspective, but should be within a larger context and in alignment with urban planning processes. Upon closer exploration of urban heritage within its environment, two main challenges reveal themselves. Firstly is the absence of integration between urban heritage and the public transportation network, which results in a number of phenomena such as over-tourism in accessible sites, underutilization of the lesser accessible ones, the encouragement of the use of private vehicles, and the limiting of potential for multimodal connections among sites, which limits the visitor's mobility. As for the second challenge, it's the clustering of heritage sites within urban environment, which arises due to the gap in understanding the importance of such clustering, the lack of comprehensive documentation where some less recognized sites gets mostly overseen, which overall proves the lack of integration between heritage preservation policies and urban planning strategies. Therefore, our research questions to what extent can GIS technologies be adopted and fostered to enhance the cultural heritage experience through four main dimensions, which are heritage assessment, cultural mapping tools, transportation and network analysis, and finally, sustainable tourism development. As previously mentioned, the context of this research is the city of Alexandria in Egypt, which is the largest coastal city and one of the oldest cosmopolitan cities, which has rich layered history that shapes its urban identity and cultural legacy. However, the heritage assets in Alexandria are isolated from each other, which is compounded by poor infrastructure that limits accessibility between them. Thus, addressing these issues is critical for the preservation of such rich history, as well as promoting the city's potential to serve as a premium destination for day trips.
For developing our methodology with the ultimate goal to deploy GIS to generate cultural routes in the city. The methodology starts with data collection and digitalization process of data, analysis and reporting, and finally decision-making for intervention process. And each of these steps will be discussed in detail in the presentation. For the data collection phase, for creating a geodatabase that will be shared for Alexandrian heritage, we depended on two main categories in creating this database, where heritage and transportation attributes are collected with references vary from online resources or initiative existing already or heritage organizations in Egypt. This enables several operations in unending process where visualization of data is of high importance in this regard. For example, data can be visualized by their type, and we identified the presence of 10 categories in Alexandria, where the majority of them are heritage buildings. Another way to visualize data is by their uniqueness, and this will be an important attribute later to identify what must be seen in cultural routes. While the most important visualization aspect is the heritage values, according to NOH, the most important heritage organization in Egypt, including historical, architectural context, social or cultural values, where it is proposed that a simple pie chart on the map can reflect the type of value in each asset. And it is also can be quantified by numerical values, such as giving each of them a value of 0 or 1 to reach a total of 31 possible combinations to exist in the database. And these combinations can also be presented by hierarchy of point size on maps. A calculated overall value can then contribute to assessing spatial patterns and identifying clusters using tools such as optimized hotspot analysis and a nearest neighbor. Doing so, the downtown in Alexandria proved to hold the highest values of heritage assets and to be a hotspot, in contrast to presence of a cold spot outside the downtown near the central districts of Alexandria.
Moving to the accessibility analysis and determining how accessible a heritage location can vary. However, for this research, we're concerning the proximity to the public transportation system. Therefore, the data regarding public transit network, including the routes and the stops, are collected. The analysis is then conducted for two modes, walkability and public transit. For the walkability mode, a 5-minute isochrone is generated from each public tram or public bus node, where the sites that are reachable within this time frame are visualized on the map as shown, and for the locations that lie outside of this extent are rendered as inaccessible within a walking distance and therefore identified as proximity gaps. So we have three main proximity gaps spread over the city, where the first one is the most important one, located in the downtown along one of the oldest spines of the city, which is called Fuaid Street, with around 80 inaccessible sites. The second one is Kafr Abdo district towards the east of the city. And finally, the Catacombs region, which encompasses two of the most important tourist attractions of the city. As for the public transit mode, it's approached from a multimodal approach, where a 15-minute service polygon is generated from the stops that are already in a vicinity of heritage assets. It's concluded that only 2 districts out of the 7 of the city lies outside of these polygons. Unfortunately, those districts host almost a quarter of the population. Now let's dig into the network analysis and design of the touristic cultural routes, which is done on 2 scales, cluster-based routes and city-based routes. Starting with the cluster-based and with the hot cluster in the downtown, we build on the previous endeavors of cluster office in Cairo, where 3 routes have been already generated for this region, with some advantages like the number of stops, the tour duration, and the diverse heritage categories. However, we aim to optimize those routes through this workflow, starting with promoting the less known sites, where less recognized heritage locations are included in the tours and some others are filtered based on heritage value assessment. Secondly is enhancing the pedestrian activity, and this is where walkability comes into the picture. 6 main criteria are considered for evaluating walkability based on the analysis context, including noise levels, surveillance, shading, visual interest along the routes, lighting, and above all, quality of pedestrian pathways. Each parameter is evaluated and weighed to calculate the total walkability index, where the weakest segments are identified as a priority for intervention in case these routes are promoted for visitors. The third stage includes improving accessibility, where the start and end points of the routes are defined in proximity to landmarks or significant transit nodes, as well as designing some smooth transition between subsequent tours. And finally is optimizing the overall tour duration, where rearranging stop sequence is ensured for shortest duration and distances between destinations. Now let's discuss the results for each analysis phase. Starting with proximity gaps, 3 main approaches are proposed, starting with extending existing bus routes and reactivating some tram lines, as well as adding stops closer to heritage sites. Thirdly, approach is to integrate more green mobility modes, such as designated lanes for bikes or electric scooters, which is beneficial for the zones that are spatially isolated from the surrounding fabric, as Kafr Abdo district. Now we can see the final 3 optimized routes can be relevant to the original proposed one, where better duration, better walkability index, and more balanced number of stops are achieved.
Following the same methodology, touristic routes are developed for the identified cold cluster outside the downtown, where 3 main routes are generated for Gleam, Rushdie, and Stanley districts. These trips span approximately an hour each, and the stops range from 11 to 13 site visits. Relatively shorter tours are also generated for more dispersed location, such as the Citadel context, the Bibliotheca Alexandrina, and Abu Abbas Mosque context, where the average duration for walking is 20 minutes to see 4 stops. These durations are without considering the time spent within buildings or visits itself. Finally, city-based tours, where we connect the cluster-based ones, keeping the most unique assets to provide a full tour of the city within a day trip, where also several options for transit modes are explored and proposed. The novel contribution of this research in Alexandria is visualizing findings through an interactive web app using Esri dashboards, where an easily understood interface like this offers users filtering tabs to choose from, either their favorite tour, their available time to walk in the city, or their preferred number of stops to visit, as well as statistics for heritage values and mobility options within their map view. The discussion of our findings can then be summarized firstly by a balanced heritage promotion through enhancing tours outside the downtown, and also urban management through greener transit integration and expanding public transit lines, and also enhancement of public realm through street-level urban design interventions. To sum up, for achieving the research objective, GIS technology has proven beneficial as it enabled unified documentation and illustrative maps, and also comprehensive heritage management schemes, improving connectivity. And by potential of including the users more in interactive experiences, tourism development can be achieved through an open access database, public participation to give feedback, mobile apps, and launching official websites. And all of this contribute to urban planning through aligning mutual approaches in an ongoing process to be considered in strategic and detailed plans, boosting the image of the city for both locals and tourists. Feel free to check our references, and thank you all for listening.